Here in the Piedmont Triad, we're all connected by the ideas, innovations, and people working to improve our region. From transportation and planning to housing and economic vitality, we bring those conversations to you. Welcome to the Triad Regional Connections podcast, hosted by Audra Adams and Lamar Powell, brought to you by the Piedmont Triad Regional Council.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're having a conversation about housing, and it's a very important conversation. And we're looking at why it is important on a local level and a regional level.
Today, our guest is Carter Spradling, the Assistant Planning Director at PTRC.
And we have Nina Wilson with us from the city of High Point.
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's just get into it. Tell us everything about what you do for the city of High Point.
I'm the Director for Community Development and Housing, and we primarily administer federal block grant programs, which can include programs that are for low and moderate income households. So housing rehabilitation, down payment assistance. We work with nonprofit agencies that provide certain public services. So I always tell people just about anything that touches a community development can be involved.
Wow. That is huge.
Yeah, it is huge. It's a lot of it, and it's an important thing, isn't it, in a community?
Absolutely. I believe that the programs that we administer do touch the lives and households when we talk about improving the quality of life for our residents. And so that's what we really focus on, is just strengthening our communities.
So tell me, what are some recent developments that have happened in High Point that you would like to highlight?
Certainly. Highlighting, since we're talking about housing, we do have a couple of low-income housing tax credit projects that are rentals. We have Walnut Ridge Apartments. It is a senior project. So for folks that are 55 and older, there will be 60 units available there. And then we have a project called The Flats at Old Winston, and that's going to be a family project, providing 42 units for families. We also do new construction, single-family new construction, that is for homeowners. And just over the last couple years, we've been able to build, in partnership with nonprofit housing developers, 20 single-family units. We have 7 underway, and I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention our 5x5 housing implementation strategy, which we just introduced, and that is producing 5,000 units of affordable housing in 5 years.
Wow, that's ambitious. I like it.
Very ambitious.
And I think to add some context to that, over the next 5 years, the state of North Carolina is going to have to add over 700,000 housing units just to keep pace with population growth. And many tens of thousands of those are going to come right here in the Piedmont region. And so to Nina's point about, High Point providing 5,000 of those over the next 5 years, that effort's going to have to be replicated in both cities and small towns and rural areas all across our region in order for us to keep up.
And is that where PTRC comes in from the regional standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. So, 2 different things there. One, it'll take all of us marching in lockstep to address a housing shortage. If High Point acts alone, or if Mount Airy works alone, we're never going to get there. But as long as we're moving forward with a common goal, and making sure that everyone has the resources at hand to accomplish that. Part of that is a pooling of resources. So whereas a town of 2,000 has many of the same needs at a smaller scale that
Sure.
a town of 200,000 might have.
Sure.
The difference is they have a staff of 2. They don't have a 15-person planning staff. And so that's where PTRC, and specifically the planning department, can step in and be an extension of that staff for all of these towns and counties across the region, where they don't have to bring on that full-time staff person to do some of this. they have our staff at their disposal.
And you're working together
Absolutely.
to make this work. And what I'm seeing here is a huge puzzle with all kinds of pieces to make this work. And what that shows me is how important that this is, and what you do is, and what you do regionally is. So when I look at that, man, this is important because of all this effort and work. What would happen if we didn't have this? And that's a little bit on the negative side, but it shows why this is important.
Yes, for many, many years, I believe we know that we have not built enough units. And so we have seen our homeless population, unfortunately, increase. We have seen more homeless encampments pop up. And one of the things that we are actually noticing is that they are encroaching on neighborhoods more and more. It was nothing to see them along the highways or the roadside, but we do see more of those kind of coming into the city more.
And it has an impact on individuals, impact on families, and then the community as a whole as well, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And I think that's really important too, that as a community, we realize that it's everyone's responsibility to make sure that our residents are housed and that they have the resources that they need.
How long has the city of High Point been working on this housing fund and project?
It has been the past 2 years. We initially met with a group of interested stakeholders, and at that particular meeting, we needed to do what we felt like was something a little bit more focused on High Point, which was a housing study. There were tons of regional housing studies out there that had been commissioned, but we really needed something that said, hey, this is what we need in High Point. So that was sort of the starting point for that, when we realized what types of units we needed, those types of things. And so that's what started, or that was the impetus, I think, for the housing fund.
And part of what makes Nina's work so important, and again, this applies to the whole of our 12 county region, is that we just talked about this massive need that we have for new housing units. It's not just housing units in general. We're missing a very specific segment of housing units we refer to as the missing middle. And to your question of what would happen if we don't do this sort of thing, we end up with a lot of base level housing, a lot of very high end housing, and not much in the middle for people in transition or people with middle incomes. And the end result of that is rampant runaway housing pricing, and something that can get away from us pretty quickly. That would be very difficult to recover from without the proper stock in place.
And I think long term too, it not only does it affect individuals and families, it's going to affect the economy. It has to.
100%.
When we talk about that missing middle, what we realized, it wasn't just the affordability gap, but also in the types of housing. We looked at maybe seniors that wanted to downsize but can't afford to. They're in these huge homes, but there are no affordable cottage homes or 1-bedroom units. And so when we started looking at that, that was something that our housing study clearly pointed out, is that you have lower income individuals that are having to sort of rent up, so their cost burden, but then you also have those folks that are making a higher income and they're sort of renting down or purchasing down. So it puts that squeeze on that middle. And that's why we say, that's been one of the things that we've seen, is really that missing middle, just income and the types of housing.
And that's another one of the areas where PTRC and the planning department can step in, is looking at regulatory reform, especially in our smaller rural communities, where we can go in and help guide them through the process of reevaluating some of their zoning ordinances and say, okay, as it is today, we can only build this type of house on this certain particular parcel.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we look at changing the language so that now we can build an accessory dwelling unit for an in-law in the backyard, or we can allow duplexes here. We're allowing, to Nina's point, a greater variety of housing in a larger geographic area, which alleviates some of that pressure.
So when you're looking at these housing studies, who all is involved in that?
We engaged a consultant and we really pulled stakeholders from across the city, residents, of course, city staff, our elected officials. We really wanted feedback from developers. So we tried to make sure that we had a wide range of stakeholders to actually provide input. So we had several meetings and community sessions, just trying to get that feedback from our residents.
Tell me the partnership here between PTRC and the city of High Point. How dramatic of impact does that make in this process for y'all?
It's invaluable. We talked about conglomeration of resources before. Nina and her team are heavy hitters in this region, and we can help facilitate bringing someone like her and her team and using that truly specialized voice to help inform our processes and then get the word out to the rest of the region as well.
It's one of the areas that we have really partnered in is around our housing rehabilitation programs, the weatherization program. We are limited in what the city of High Point can actually invest in a home. Right now, our maximum is $25,000. So whenever we have projects that are a little bit more than that to bring the person's home up to a habitable condition, we do reach out to PTRC, and we refer a lot of folks to PTRC for their essential single family rehab program as well as weatherization. So we work with their staff quite a bit. Our project managers do, just to try to make sure that we're serving the High Point residents and making sure that they have decent homes.
That's amazing. I've learned a little bit about the weatherization and rehabilitation side of what PTRC is doing, and I had no idea that these programs exist. How do you, with your staff and with the city of High Point, get out the word? Is it application based? How do the folks apply to be?
It is. Yes, we do have an online application process for homeowners. And what we found over the years is word of mouth is really the best advertisement, because a lot of times homeowners will see work being done at a neighbor's house and they'll inquire. But we work with neighborhood associations. We present and speak at a lot of different events and just really try to get the word out through marketing. But definitely word of mouth is about the best advertisement we get.
So, and we're talking about one of the things that we've looked at in having this conversation is there's a summit coming up dealing with housing. Tell us a little bit about that.
In partnership with PTRC, the City of High Point, City of Winston-Salem, and the City of Greensboro will be coming together to host this event. And what we are looking to do is bring people from across the state that have an interest in affordable housing development, whether it be new housing preservation, and just bringing resources and tools and things to their attention, and just maybe educating the attendees on some of the things that maybe they were not aware of.
And you guys have hosted, PTRC has hosted this and kind of push this forward. Tell us.
Yeah, several years in a row. So the first one was held at the PTRC office, and we outgrew that quickly. Just last year, we were over here in Winston-Salem at the Benton Convention Center. And this year, we're going to be in the Greensboro Coliseum complex. And it's going to be on April 30th, and a fantastic event for anyone that's interested in housing and housing issues.
So tell me about those. You said anyone.
Yeah. So
go a little deeper.
Housing, encompasses a huge range of people by necessity, right?
Right.
So we want to have everyone from developers, landowners, policymakers, anyone in between that's involved in this housing process to come and be a part of that. And it goes far beyond, the cities that Nina just named, obviously being sponsored by PTRC, High Point, Winston-Salem, and Greensboro. But we look at the region, and as we've discussed before, none of this happens in a vacuum. So we've got explosive growth at Piedmont Triad International Airport, and we've got a battery plant in northern Randolph County, and we've got an Amazon distribution center being built in Mount Airy. And, somebody that's worried about the expansion of housing in the general Mount Airy area has to, by default, take into account rural Surrey County, Stokes County, Yadkin County, people that are going to be working in all these support structures that support the industry at PTI are going to be, those companies are going to be drawing in people from dozens of miles away in all corners of our geography.
And you mentioned, I'm going to stop you and let you continue here in a moment, but even from an economic standpoint, when you have some of these large companies coming in, don't they look at these types of things when they're considering?
Industry follows rooftops, right? If we could have the most perfect logistics here, but if we don't have the housing available to house the workforce that these industries need, we won't get that economic growth.
So they're wanting to invest, and you guys are helping make sure that one part of this huge puzzle that they look at is where it needs to be, right?
Absolutely.
What should people expect from this summit? Like what, from investors to builders to what is the expectation that you guys have come together to say, we want people leaving with this point or this point or this point or all of the above?
And I want to add to what she said before you answer, because you have this tagline, land, labor, lending.
Yeah.
So I know that has to be a part of it. So Nina, what?
Here I go.
So Nina, address that.
Absolutely. A couple years ago, I was on a virtual event, and one of the panelists, that was one of the things they were talking about, barriers to affordable housing. And he actually talked about the 4 L's, but we didn't include legal. So we'll just say land, labor, and lending. So as we started to discuss just the issues and the barriers and where are our developers and builders having the most trouble, we know that land is finite. We can't create any more of that. Also, as far as the labor, there have been various things that have happened across the country that has truly affected the construction workforce, as well as we understand that there are not as many people actually studying the various trades or going into those trades, like the plumbing and electrical and those things like that. So just the labor shortage. And then lending, where is the money? How do we access resources? So we really felt like that to focus on those 3 things would really be beneficial to the attendees.
And you have the answers to their questions ready to go in the most part. Am I correct?
I would say for the most part, our goal is to bring experts and presenters and panelists that can provide additional information. I think just like the other attendees, I'll be there to learn and to listen as well.
It's a great networking opportunity where we have folks that are interested in developing and obviously places with need for housing, and they might not necessarily know how to get in touch with each other. This is the perfect chance for all that synergy.
And tell me, is this a free event or is there an entrance fee?
It does require registration, and there is a registration fee, yes.
Okay.
You can go to the PTRC website, www.ptrc.org, and just search housing or housing summit, and it'll come up.
We just know that these are some very critical times. We've heard over the last several years that we're in a housing crisis, so we know that. And I think, too, for the folks that will be attending the summit, just to understand that we are working within our units of government and with our partners. Partnership is critical. Collaboration is critical. None of us can do it alone. And so we recognize the issue, and we are doing everything that we can to address that.
And, what a testimony to the collaboration, because once this continues and it's so successful like it is, it's just something that's right there for every other county and region and city and municipality to say, hey, we did it here. We can, we'll have a 5,005-year goal. Let's just say step up, everybody.
And what an exciting problem to have, honestly. I mean, this is one of the fastest growing regions in the entire country. We could be in the complete opposite where we have this huge surplus of housing and don't have any
Yes.
people to put in them.
And there's a lot of places in the country it's that way.
Absolutely.
So it's incredible. Love North Carolina. I love what's going on in the Triad. It's just, it's fun to watch.
Well, I want to say thank you so much, Nina and Carter, for joining us today and giving us more insight. This is time sensitive, so April 30th, be at where we at the Greensboro Coliseum on the terrace at the Greensboro Coliseum. Thursday, April 30th. Please, if you're watching, look for the link. If you're not, listen back a few minutes and you will get all of the website information to register and come. So thank you again. And
yeah, I just want to say thank you for what you do. I love it. And both of you, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
we'll see y'all next time.